Open the doors.
There's Tom and Chapman. What are they up to?
Oh, wow. The Yeerks have an entrance to the Yeerk pool behind a set of lockers? That's like the second scariest thing Nickelodeon's ever done with lockers.
Yes, Alistair.
You know, when I grow up, I want to be a psychiatrist.
How exciting for you.
Yeah, and I'll only deal with split personalities.
Why?
So I can build them twice. Get it? Split personalities? Okay.
And thus we reach the 3-part season finale / premiere. See, the first 2 parts are the final 2 episodes of season 1, while the 3rd part opens season 2 7 months later in Canada, or 11 whole months in the United States. The whole end the season with a cliffhanger thing became popular with shows like Star Trek The Next Generation, but I've never really cared for it myself. It can work sometimes, like the Best of Both Worlds 2-parter, but I personally prefer season finales to be a proper closing of that chapter. I find it more satisfying, and you don't run the risk of screwing it up by having the show canceled between seasons. To take another 90s kids show, The Odyssey, which ran from 1992 to 1995, it was about a young boy who has an accident and slips into a coma, his consciousness being transported to a fantasy world where no one reaches the age of 16. At the end of season 3, the barrier between this world and our world breaks down. I mean, this was huge. This was the biggest event the series ever had, and I couldn't wait to see what happened. Oh, it got canceled. And based on the incredibly short second season, and a few other things I'll point out in part 3, I believe there was a genuine risk of this happening with Animorphs. The fact that it didn't happen kind of makes this moot, but I still think it's wiser to end a season without immediate unresolved conflict. So our episode begins with Jake running into Tom, who asks him if he's going to the big district finals basketball game at the school. It seems the sharing is running concessions, so Jake decides to morph Lizard, because it's always a lizard morph, and sneak into Tom's room, where we learn that Tom has had Elfangor's disc in his possession for a while now. Jake slips into Tom's backpack and...
Oh no, I'm trapped. Just keep calm, keep calm. Let's go. You're driving me to the school. This is not how we're supposed to go.
You didn't want to be taken by Tom? Then why the hell did you climb into his backpack? Why not hide under the bed or something? At the barn, the rest of the Animorphs make plans. My, those are some fancy tickets for a high school basketball game. At my school, you just pay a few dollars at the door. But that's probably just my small-town upbringing speaking again. District finals in bigger cities are probably a much bigger deal. I mean, even though they know the sharing is involved, all the Animorphs are pumped about the event. Still, they need a plan, as Act speculates that this would be a good event to scoop up a bunch of new hosts. Tobias is feeling a bit down that he can't do anything on this mission, which would be a bit more meaningful if the series wasn't so haphazard about who participated in what missions. Down in the Yeerk pool, Chapman is checking things out for this little operation. He orders one of the controllers to switch the biofilter from kill to alarm, because if any Andalites try to sneak in, he wants them captured alive, not killed. Rachel and Cassie reach the school, morph mice, and start spying on Chapman and Tom. Tom chastises Chapman for the light security, and you can tell that Chapman hates being talked down to like this. He feels that he should be in charge. He cringes as Tom orders him to throw away an empty soda can, which the two girls confuse for the disc. Tom enters the Yeerk pool, where the alarm goes off because of Jake and Tom's backpack. Pissed, Tom tries to switch it back to destroy, but accidentally turns off the morphing sensors, giving Jake the chance to demorph. And no, they don't use a handheld scanner on Tom to make sure he's a controller, even though they do it for every other person who walks in the Yeerk pool during this story. The fuck is this operation? Marco scopes out the locker rooms and runs across to demorphing Rachel and Cassie. Still thinking Chapman has the disc, they try to come up with a plan.
We need to create a diversion at the game. And I'll fall into Chapman and take the disc right out of his pocket.
Too risky. You'd never pull it off. We can't draw that kind of attention to ourselves.
Rachel, you can morph a cat and interrupt the game.
We can't do that either. They're going to be watching places where it's safe for us to morph.
Oh, you mean like this locker room? Back in the Yerk pool, Jake overhears a conversation between Tom and Visitor 3. Tom reveals that they discovered that Elfangor's disc is key to only work in the presence of a specific Andalite's DNA, someone from Elfangor's family. Tom then discusses the plan to scoop up all the students attending the game, not specifically for hosts, but because they now think the Andalites are using the school as a cover. Sure, there's a chance none of the aliens are interested in participating in a school game, despite how hyped it is, but it's still a more intelligent move than the TV Yerks are known for. Finally, we discovered that the Yerks have been messing around with some genetic engineering and have created a breed of Yerk that no longer need Kandrona, removing the Yerk's one weakness. Besides, crippling stupidity. Still, another step in the right direction for the Yerks. Well, it's finally time to see this epic high school basketball game, the game to define all games. Oh, this is it? This is the district finals? There's barely 30 people in attendance, and where the hell is this game being played, in a kindergarten gym? I harp on about my tiny-ass school, but at least we had a proper stadium. Why the hell are you people so hyped about this? Alright, screw this. Back to the Yerk pool. The poorly lit Yerk pool. So many Yerks tripping on shit in here. Jake slips into the incubation chamber, which has no guards, and requires a 4-digit password that is brightly displayed when you punch it in, where this new breed of Yerk is getting cozy in their cotton candy beddies. Now, if this was the books, we would have questions as to whether these Yerks are slaves to their genetically engineered natures, if they should be considered a new species, and if it is morally right to destroy them. But this is anti-TV, so Jake just starts stabbing Yerk bags without much thought. No, I don't know how Jake morphed a penknife in his possession. Stop asking me. This new breed of Yerk is orange and also very vocal, because slugs are known for their epic lungs. Look out, Axe, there's a Yerk on your Oh, wait, sorry, that's just the Nickelodeon logo. Oh, Axe is roughing up Chapman here to feel his pockets to see if he has the disc on him. He doesn't, so that plot thread was a waste of 8 minutes.
Listen to their warrior cries. Music to my ears!
Yeah, listen to their panicked screams of pain as their brothers get killed. If there's one species who should be able to determine a Yerk cry of panic or a Yerk cry of triumph, you think it would be the fucking Yerks. Eventually, three controllers do eventually go to check out on this new batch and why it's so worked up, but they somehow fail to notice the punctured bag or spilled Yerk goop all over the floor. Jake manages to find maintenance duck or something. Tom Yerk goes to a little dip in the pool, and Tom gets thrown in a cell, all the while Chapman shows up to steal the disc from Tom's backpack. Yeah, Tom is kind of an idiot for not putting that thing in a safe or something. I guess Chapman's goal is to humiliate Tom. You get the impression that Tom has recently taken a higher position of control than Chapman, which Chapman resents. It's that kind of show-don't-tell subtlety that the show is occasionally capable of when it's not being totally retarded. Speaking of, Chapman decides the best place to hide the disc is on a windowsill. In what alternate dimension is that a good idea? You couldn't have put it in your desk or in your car because the Yerks will never look on the fucking windowsill because it's fucking stupid. Now, I really should address the disc properly since it's been the main MacGuffin throughout this entire season. As I've previously expressed, I don't mind the disc conceptually. It adds an additional element to the show that wasn't in the books and gives something for the book readers to speculate on. The problem is, I'm not sure the creative team had any idea what the disc was going to be when they introduced it, because now we get to find out what it's all about, and it's pretty fucking dumb. Tobias sees Chapman place the disc on the windowsill, flies up and grabs it, and it proceeds to make him human. Yes, by merely touching the disc, Tobias activates its Nothlit-fixing superpowers. The fuck is this? The fuck is that? The fuck is Juice? Are you saying that Elfangor just happened to have a disc-like device that was specifically calibrated with Tobias' DNA and can give him his human form and morphing powers back? He just thought he might need that just in case? How does it possibly respond to Tobias? The people in Yerk Labs were determined that it could only activate in the presence of a specific Andalite. Tobias doesn't have any Andalite DNA in him. And yes, Tobias was born under the same circumstances as in the Andalite Chronicles, with Elfangor as a human Nothlit. There's no possible way Tobias could be carrying any Andalite DNA. Nor does it seem likely that Elfangor managed to calibrate his disc to respond to a specific person he hasn't met yet. How did he have Tobias's DNA? Did he come to Earth at an earlier date, manage to sneak into Tobias's room and steal some hair samples? If all it took was a touch, why didn't it activate any of the times Tobias held it before the Yeerk stole it back? And if you thought all that was bad, it gets worse in part 2.